This boy woke up in a room he had not seen for 10 years. At first, Si Chen thought he was dreaming. His hands were smaller, his body felt weaker, and the room around him looked exactly like the dorm he lived in back when he was still a university student. Then the truth hit him. He had returned 10 years into the past, back to the days when he was still powerless, back to the time when everyone treated him like trash. But this was not the same Si Chen they used to bully, because in his previous life he watched the entire world collapse. 3 years from now, the demon lord of wrath would descend onto Earth. The gates of hell would open, monsters from other dimensions would flood the planet, and humanity would be wiped out. Si Chen remembered it all. He remembered the screams, he remembered the destruction, he remembered losing every person he ever cared about, and by the end of that nightmare, he became the last surviving human alive. His final act was sacrificing himself to kill the demon lord. But somehow, instead of dying, he woke up here, 10 years earlier, before the world ended, before everyone died, and before he had lost the chance to protect his family. Then a strange window appeared in front of him. The power of gluttony has been completed. Si Chen froze. In his old life, he fought as an awakened warrior, but he had never seen anything like this. The screen in front of him showed his stats, his abilities, and even his old class, Electric Assassin. The moment he saw it, he felt power flowing back into his body, his speed, his senses, his combat instinct. Everything he had gained in the future was starting to return. But before he could test it, the door opened. His roommate Ma Long walked in and froze. He was shocked to see Si Chen awake, because the day before, Si Chen had been beaten so badly that he should not have recovered this quickly. Ma Long asked if he was okay. Si Chen said he was fine, but deep down he was shaken, because Ma Long was alive. In the future, Ma Long died only 3 days after the demon lords appeared. Seeing him standing here again made Si Chen finally realize this was real. He had truly come back, and this time he was not going to waste the chance. Later that evening, Si Chen and Ma Long walked through the university field. The city was full of life. Students were laughing, exercising, talking like nothing was wrong. But Si Chen could barely look at them. To everyone else, this was a normal, peaceful evening. To him, it was a graveyard waiting to happen. If he did nothing, every single person here would die. So his goal was simple. He needed to grow stronger as quickly as possible. But there was one problem. In this world, awakened people could only level up by fighting monsters inside demon lairs, and almost every demon lair was controlled by powerful guilds. For someone with no money, no background, and no connections, getting access was almost impossible. While Si Chen was thinking, a ball suddenly flew across the field and smashed directly into Ma Long's face. Ma Long dropped to the ground. The students on the court started laughing. Then one of them stepped forward. Gong Chong, a rank E awakened student, and one of the people who made Si Chen's university life a living hell. In the old timeline, Gong Chong and his gang bullied Si Chen constantly. They beat him, humiliated him, and once even held his head underwater while laughing. Back then, Si Chen could do nothing. He had no power, no status, no way to fight back. But this time was different. Gong Chong mocked them, saying they should have brought drinks for him and his friends. Ma Long quickly apologized and offered to go buy them, but Si Chen stopped him. He stepped forward and said Ma Long had nothing to apologize for. The ones who owed an apology were standing on the court. The whole field went quiet. Gong Chong could not believe what he had just heard. The weakest student in school had talked back to him. Furious, he threw a punch. But Si Chen caught it with one hand. The impact sent Gong Chong stumbling backwards, clutching his wrist in pain. Everyone froze. This should have been impossible. Si Chen had not awakened. At least that was what everyone believed. Gong Chong became even angrier and activated his demonic armor. He wanted to crush Si Chen in front of everyone, but before he could even react, Si Chen disappeared from his sight. In the next instant, Si Chen appeared directly in front of him and landed one clean punch. Gong Chong was sent flying. The crowd went silent. Ma Long stared with his mouth open. Nobody could understand what they had just seen. Gong Chong tried to stand back up, screaming at his friends to help him, but even they were scared. They were looking at Si Chen like he was not human. Gong Chong charged again. Si Chen caught his wrist, crushed it with ease, and told him he was far too weak. Then Si Chen stopped holding back. Punch after punch landed before Gong Chong could even defend himself. The same bully who once treated him like dirt was now being beaten down in front of the entire field. A few minutes ago, everyone was laughing. Now nobody made a sound. Gong Chong crashed into the wall, badly injured and struggling to stay conscious. His friends stood frozen, too scared to move. Even Ma Long dropped to his knees, staring at Si Chen like he was looking at a completely different person. The Si Chen he knew was quiet, weak, always getting pushed around. So when did he become this strong? Si Chen looked down at Gong Chong and calmly tested what he had learned. His electric assassin class still worked. His speed had returned, his strength had returned. And even at level 1, he was already stronger than an ordinary rank E awakened student. But there was one problem. After defeating Gong Chong, his stats had not increased at all. That meant beating humans would not help him level up. If Si Chen wanted to grow stronger, he needed monsters. As that thought crossed his mind, lightning began gathering in his hand. Ma Long saw the crackling energy and immediately panicked, asking what he was about to do. But before Si Chen could test anything further, a girl's voice cut through the tension. Ling Yu, the vice president of the student council, stepped forward. She reminded him they were still on school grounds. Even if Gong Chong attacked first, the punishment he had received was already more than enough. Si Chen stared at her for a moment. Then he released his power. He let Gong Chong go. But deep down, he was not satisfied. Because people like Gong Chong never stopped just because they were warned. They only stopped when they were truly afraid. And from the look on Gong Chong's face, that fear had finally started to sink in. Later, back at the male dormitory, Ma Long could not stop talking about what happened. To him, Si Chen had awakened as a powerful electric type and destroyed Gong Chong like it was nothing. But not everyone believed it. Xiang Zuo, another student in their dorm, refused to accept that Si Chen had suddenly become stronger than him overnight. Their dorm was known as the weakest in the entire year. The 4 of them were ranked at the very bottom of the university, and because Xiang Zuo was ranked slightly higher than the others, he had always considered himself the strongest among them. In his mind, someone like Si Chen could not possibly awaken an electric ability. But whether they believed it or not, the news had already spread, and eventually it reached Gong Chong's older brother, Gong Yan, the student council president, the strongest student in the entire university. Unlike his brother, Gong Yan did not explode with anger when he heard what happened. He simply said Gong Chong lost because he was weaker. But even though his face remained calm, Si Chen had now entered his field of vision, and that alone was dangerous. Meanwhile, Si Chen was not celebrating. He was training. He ran through the night with 100 kilos of weight strapped to his body, forcing his younger body to adapt as quickly as possible. Because no matter how much power he had recovered, this body was still not strong enough. In the future, the Demon Lord of Wrath was the beginning of everything. It was the monster that opened the gates of hell. It was the disaster that led to humanity's extinction. And it was also the reason Si Chen lost his younger sister. That memory alone kept him moving. Every step, every breath, every second of pain. He had 3 years before the end began, and he could not afford to waste even one day. Then his phone rang. When Si Chen saw his sister's name on the screen, his entire body froze. Si Yun. In his previous life, she was gone, but now her voice was alive on the other end of the phone. She told him she had been busy with a competition and joked that if she won the prize, it could help them pay their overdue rent. Si Chen listened quietly, but his heart felt heavy. In the old timeline, he had been too weak to protect her, too poor to support her dreams, too late to save her life. But now everything had begun again, and this time he promised himself he would protect her no matter what. That same night, after returning to his room, the gluttony system suddenly activated. Before Si Chen could react, the world around him changed. He found himself standing in front of a mysterious tower surrounded by a dark red river. At first, he thought he might be dreaming. Then the river began to move. Monsters crawled out one after another, funeral flames, rank E creatures. They rushed toward him in a swarm, but Si Chen did not panic. He moved like lightning. In an instant, he cut through the first wave, tearing through the monsters before they could even touch him.